Okay, we can go.
We're going live in five. Quiet, please. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to a few of you. Welcome to today's community briefing. My name is Gregory Sneed, and we are glad you are here. We have a bunch of guests today that are joining us. Crystal conducts a biz camp, and a lot of her students are with us. They may not be with us for the duration, but they're going to be here for a while and learning some great information from our guest today. We have Mr. Marcus Farrow, and he'll be sharing some information with us shortly. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, my name is Gregory Sneed. My company is Lifesaver Financial Services. I help my clients build wealth and keep more of the money they make, and I do that through a number of strategies designed to help them feel better about their money, because I believe that when you feel better about your money, you feel better about your life. Now, wearing many hats today, we have the queen of our queen of our community briefing. You guys didn't know she was a queen, right? She's a queen here in the community briefing, and she's also leading the biz camp. So it's my pleasure to bring to the virtual stage Miss Crystal Mitchell.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the community briefing. And so happy to have you here, where we have some amazing young entrepreneurs in the house today. They're learning how to become successful entrepreneurs, like those of us that are been doing this for a while. So I want to welcome you to the community briefing, and please, in the chat, guys, welcome all the young people. These in the young people from the ages of 13 to 18, participating in the Los Angeles Urban League Biz Camp and Biz Institute. They will be learning all this amazing information, and in addition to that, they will be competing at the end of the month and in a competition, Shark Tank style. And so they need your support. You guys, if you would love to come out and meet the kids, you can come over. We're at Da Vinci School in El Segundo. If you have any words of wisdom or want to share or mentor them, we can definitely use your help. So let me know, and we can make that happen. So I'm Crystal Mitchell. I'm the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars and the inspiration behind and the founder of the community briefing. And this platform was created so that we could make sure that we got information firsthand. Generally in our community, we get information when it's too late to do anything for it. So this is our community. This is our way of coming together to create one voice, to work together collaboratively and collectively. The platform is sponsored and powered by Recycling Black Dollars and the Black Business Association, the BBA, as well as monetarily sponsored by Los Angeles LDC, Southern California Edison, PCR, Wells Fargo Bank. And if anybody wants to support and donate, you can always do that by going to our website and hitting our donation button. But we will truly like for you to go over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button so we can continue to grow our community and our audience. So please feel free to put your information in the chat room. We have a fantastic team here at the community briefing. Mr. Gregory Sneed, Mr. Stephen Bradford, myself, and Miss Robin Billups. And Robin is still going through some treatment, but she's always here with us in spirit. So with that, Gregory, I am going to send it back over to you. And please, guys, say hello to all the kids. Give them a big wave. And kids, you all give them a big wave back. Okay, Greg, back to you.
And joining us is Mr. Stephen Turner. You mentioned Stephen Bradford.
Oh, I'm sorry, Stephen Turner. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, he's not.
She gave you a bump up there. Stephen Turner, yeah. I said Stephen Bradford.
Yeah, Stephen Turner. All righty.
Great. Thank you.
Back to you, Greg.
So again, thank you guys for joining us today. We have Mr. Marcus Farrow. He's going to be joining us momentarily, and we have also a bunch of students who are joining Crystal in her summer biz camp, and they are learning a lot about being in business, being entrepreneurs, and hopefully making a difference in our society. One of you will at least create something absolutely magnificent, and a few of you will do something awesome. But all of you are great, all of you. So greatness is inside of you. All right, Marcus Farrow. He is a digital marketing and sales strategist, a visionary business planner, and a nonprofit management systems expert. He also has expertise in income property loan advisor and a private lender. He considers himself a seasoned entrepreneur and a relationship banker with digital marketing and sales expertise, skilled in business management systems, and visionary strategic planner, startup to raising multi-million private equity capital. He's also a co-founder and chairman of the MENFORMATION Project, a nonprofit community organization delivering quality group mentoring and academic coaching for boys of color ages 8 to 17 here in South Los Angeles. He is with Stepping Stone Consultant. He's a principal there for the last 15 years. The MENFORMATION Project, he started also 15 years ago. He was previously a legal assistant and information systems manager with a law office. He did underwriting with United Commercial Credit Industries. He was a vice president and major loan credit officer with Southern Pacific Bank. His education wise, he has an MBA from the University of Southern California, the Marshall School of Business, and an Occidental College, a Bachelor's of Arts in Economics. I have no idea where he grew up, so he's going to share that with us. Are you a native of Los Angeles?
I am a native.
All right, so he's a native of Los Angeles. And so without further delay, it is my pleasure to welcome to the virtual stage Mr. Marcus Farrow.
Thank you, Gregory. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Um, Crystal, thank you for creating this platform for our community. Um, the key word in community is unity. And so I just appreciate you for doing that. And I thank my good friend Steve Turner for always connecting people. We happen to run into each other. I'm from Los Angeles. He's from Los Angeles, but we ran into each other in Atlanta, the Operation Hope, and we connected, and he stayed connected and invited me to be able to speak today. So thank you, Stephen. I have a lot of respect for that man. He does good work for people with a heart. So I'm glad to be here with you all. And it's a special treat to have so many young, bright minds here. Um, God, he just always gives you what you need. He promised that um, I shall supply all your need. And I needed to see these young faces because that's a big part of my heart. My heart is for young people. Now, a little bit of my background in history. Um, I'm the son of Pauline Carter Williams, and she's the seventh child of Fred Carter, my grandfather. And my grandfather was born in Mississippi, and as a man, young man, he had to pick 500 pounds of cotton a day. That's a half a bale. So he and his brother had to pick a bale of cotton every day. He said they used to work from canned seed to can't seed. My mom, she also picked cotton, but she was she chopped cotton, and there's a difference. Picking is with your hand, chopping is with a hoe. So all my life, my grandfather told me, boy, get an education because he was denied an education. And I took it seriously. Well, he bribed me early on because he would give us $1 for each A. And so I thought that was easy money. So I was happy to get a report card. But he knew that education was um, a leverager, an opportunity to leverage what may be a disadvantage to your advantage. And so I was blessed and fortunate enough. I'm a product of Los Angeles City Schools. I went to LaSalle Avenue Elementary School, and then I went to Henry Clay Junior High School. I think they changed the name of it now. I don't know. Um, and I went to Gardena High School, yay Mohicans. And um, from Gardena, I went to Occidental College, and it's a small liberal arts college here in Los Angeles. And I studied economics. And I always had an interest in business because my grandfather, again, um, when he came to California and with his 17 children and his wife, and he made a way for them, he was an entrepreneur and he had a cleaning business. And we would clean the big fans, uh, electrical fans, the heating, the air duct systems for some large businesses around. And one of them, we had contracts. He had contracts. I mean, I was a laborer, but in the casinos here in Gardena, and then there used to be the Herald Examiner downtown, and I'd have to, since I was the littlest, I'd have to get up and climb in the vents, and it was all this ink, and you had to scrape it out with a spoon, and it was nasty, dirty work. But what it taught me was that everything good comes from hard work. And so I learned about entrepreneurship, how you had to get up and go when you may not feel like it. You have to motivate yourself. But a big part of that was having an education. So I went through, studied economics, and then I got a fellowship, a full tuition fellowship to go to USC and get my master's in business. Now, while I was an undergrad, I was in a special program, something like you all here, but it was specific to banking. And so I was like one of 20 students selected throughout the state by United California Bank. And so while I was still an undergrad, I actually worked at the bank full time during the summer, part time during the school year. And so by the time I graduated, I had technically a whole year's worth of banking experience and had completed a banking officer program. And so that created an opportunity for me to go into banking. And banking is a big part of any business. And so I learned about business by being a business banker and learning how to assess the viability of a business and many times the fire in the belly of the entrepreneur, because that's really what makes the difference. Is this person a stick to it person? Will they persevere when it gets hard? Because it will invariably get hard. Will they persevere when there's downsides? Because quiet as it's kept, that's where the best lessons are learned, but also it's where the real ones are shaken away from the wannabes. So anyway, I said all that to share with you as a background about myself to help you identify that, what you're doing now is planting seeds and building, creating a building block in your thinking. And I'm just so proud of each one of you because you could be doing it summertime. I mean, you could be doing anything, but you're making an investment in your brain and your person and your mindset. And trust me, it will pay dividends for you. And I can just see so many bright futures on these screens that it just does my heart well. Growing up in LA, I grew up, in this gang culture. I lived right near Athens Park. Anybody know where Athens Park is? Raise your hand if you know where Athens. Okay, a few people know Athens Park. Okay, I used to live right near Athens Park, and so I went to junior high school at Henry Clay Junior High, which is on the other end. And so at Henry Clay, that was Crip territory, and they didn't like the Athens Park boys, and so it was always something. And so I understand how those traps can be set. And thank God I avoided a lot of them because I kept myself busy like you're doing with something positive looking towards my future. And um, we played football with the Watts Wildcats. We had a Pop Warner team, and there was a pro football player here in Los Angeles. His name was Kermit Alexander. He was a cornerback, and he donated money. And we had those little. You ever see the Bad News Bears? We had those kind of uniforms. We had to piece them together. We got secondhand uniforms from the white teams, and they donated their stuff to us, and that's how we put together a team. And they organized us, and we practiced over at Mona Park, which was right over there near the projects. And so those men organized us into a team so that we didn't organize ourselves into something else that was less productive. And needless to say, we put a can of whoop on them, but from the Watts Wildcats. Yay for the Watts Wildcats. My point is to share with you that I've come from where you are if you're from here. And this is just an example of what you can do if you apply yourself. First of all, prepare your mind for education. But I shared that story of the people that made a difference because those men, they could have been doing anything else, but they were sacrificing their time to invest in us. And then as I got older, I realized that I had a duty to do the same thing. And so a group of men, we were all part of the same church. We were in a men's meeting. Somebody said, what are we going to do to help these boys? And then the pastor said, yeah, what are you going to do? And so we got together and formed a organization called the MENFORMATION Project. We got a grant from the California Prevention Initiative, and they gave us a training grant. They sent us a trainer that trained us for like 60 hours of mentoring, and we went through a lot of that to prepare. And then we started mentoring boys. We partnered with the Challengers Boys and Girls Club on 51st in Vermont, which is, just a historical organization, a testimony to what one man can do. Lou Dantzler, who founded that, is just an icon in the city of caring for young people. So we partnered with them, and for the last 15 years, we've been mentoring boys from 8 to 17. And I'm passionate about it because, just to give you an example, I came across a quote that I think sums it up. It's by this brother, William Raspberry, and he was a Pulitzer Prize winning columnist. He says, if I could offer a single prescription for the survival of Black America, it would be to restore the family. And if you ask me how to do it, my answer would be save the boys. Now, no diss to girls, because we know, like James Brown said, without a woman or a girl, it would be nothing. But God made them male and female, and he made man with responsibility. And every statistic you look at that says when the father is not in place, everything is wrong. So they said if the head is messed up, everything else is messed up. And so when you look at it, when I grew up, 80% of the households had a mom and dad in it. If you look at it now, 80% of them are a single family and the men are missing. And when men are missing or not in their position, then bad things happen, boys and girls. It's proven. You can look at every statistic. And so as a people, we've endured unspeakable things, splitting up our families. And so we have a history of taking care of the one that's chained to you. And in the hope that someone would take care of your child that's chained to them. And so each one teach one. And so we decided to take on as many as young men that would come and be served and be able to be in an environment with men and boys, positive male role models, men from all walks of life, from architects to policemen to trash collectors but good, solid men that have care about the community. And so we meet once a month on the fourth Saturday. Our website is menformation.org. If you want to learn a little bit more about us. But what we do is we provide a group session, group meeting, group mentoring, and we have a ratio of 3 boys to mentors, and we put them in teams. So we learn about bonding as men, and we learn about and boys are able to be in an environment to be boys, and where it's safe to be boys, and it's safe to, and they're being cared for by men who look out after them and give them a role model and something, an example of what manhood looks like. And part of the thing we do is we start with what we call the 22 principles of manhood, because every man needs to have principles that he lives by. And if you bear with me, I'll read them to you. It says, a man's source of strength is God. A man must respect women at all times. A man must be as strong as possible mentally and physically. A man must protect his loved ones even to his death. A man must provide for his family. A man's word is his bond. A man must have discipline. A man must have the will to win. A man knows that the will to win means nothing without the will to prepare. A man must know the difference between right and wrong. A man must be willing to take the consequences of his actions. A man must never misuse or abuse women. A man must have a plan. A man will know fear, but still must function. A man will always do his best. A man must be able to take the bitter as well as the sweet. A man must have priorities. A man knows there are many times he must stand alone. A man must be willing to take a calculated risk. A man must know his strengths and weaknesses. A man must use his wisdom and understanding. A man must know that before he can lead, he must follow. A man knows, when in doubt, ask God. And so these are some of the principles and that we try to demonstrate and live by and encourage the young people that come into our orbit the opportunity to do the same. And so we do it with a heart because that's where we came from, and we're hoping to see the future improved by investing in young men, and particularly Black young men. But we'll serve whoever shows up. But our focus is on young Black boys to help them mature into manhood. And our mission is to help Black boys succeed in school and stay out of jail. I know that sounds simplistic, but if you look at where the problem is that most of our young people, Black boys in particular, get designated as ADHD and all other kind of avenues when they're really geniuses, but they're not being challenged. And so when they don't read by the 3rd grade, then they base how many jail cells they're going to need in the future by 3rd grade reading scores. And so our focus is to help with literacy, good old reading, and to start with good relationships and encouragement and trauma-informed care, caring relationships, mentoring, because there's a study, and I'm going to leave you with this one study. It says that if a Black child has a Black teacher by the time they're in the 3rd grade, then they're like 300% more likely to graduate high school, and go on to aspire to college. And they call that the role model effect. But it makes sense because you think about it with the 50% of our kids dropping out of high school, and the ones that graduate reading below grade level. That's probably a function of the system and the lack of caring, but it's also a function of there aren't any black teachers. 98% of the teachers are Anglo-Caucasian. And so what we do is just add a touch to give a friendly face and a caring heart and a helping hand.
Marcus, of those 20 principles, which were fantastic, pretty much all of them were self-explanatory, but I'd like for you to extrapolate on one of them, which may not have been apparent, is what you meant by word is bond, or a man's word is his bond. Can you tell us more about what that is? Because people may not know what a bond is, a BOND.
Okay. Well, let me first. I'll give you the financial definition of what a bond is. And so, if you're like going to build a big building, and they want to make sure that you build it and you don't run off with the money, you have to get a bond. That means the company is ensuring that you'll get paid if this person doesn't do the job. So they're ensuring it. And so basically they're saying you can count on it. It's bonded. That means that bonded means there's money behind it. There's value behind it. There's surety behind it. And so that's a whole another definition of the insurance business is surety. S-U-R-E-T-Y, surety. That means you're sure. And indemnity. So they're ensuring the indemnity, surety. And so you can basically is saying that when somebody tells you something, you can believe them. You know, the person tells you their word, they give you their word, and they do their word. And that's how a lot of banking was done. And because I was trained the old school as a relationship banker. And so that was built upon relationships. When we're making a loan to this person. You build a relationship with them and you get to know their character. You know business, but once you know a person's character, then you'll know how they'll apply it in any situation. And so that's where it wants to be is the Bible says, yet your yes be yes and your no be no. That means your word be your bond.
And how does that relate on the street?
Oh, it's life or death on the street. You know, when you're dealing with a bank, all we can do is foreclose on you. You know, when you borrow some money from Hank, the loan shark, you know, that could cost you some kneecaps if you're lucky. You know, so yeah, you better show up with my money. When I said, you know, if I gave you something and I tell you, say you're gonna do something for that, you better do that. Excuse me, I had to get. They took me out of the hood, but I still live in Compton, so I'm coming to you now, straight out of Compton.
Yeah. So essentially, if you're going to pay that money, my word is my bond. I don't need
Exactly.
any piece of paper, to emphasize or back that up. It's my word, and so how important is that for someone to keep their word? Let them hear from that.
Well, I mean, just imagine when your friend tells you, "Oh, I'm gonna come over and help you with your homework," and then they don't show up. The next time they tell you that, you won't really believe them. Oh man, you didn't show up last time. But if you got a friend that every time he tells you I'm gonna be there, he's there, then you know you can count on them. They're dependable. And so all it does is say, you know, your dependability. And so words on paper, whether even if you sign a piece of paper, that's just your word. So, you know, whether we shake hands or we do a bunch of paper, the only difference is what kind of legal recourse will I have? That's all the difference is. But, you know, if you're going to honor it, it only takes a handshake or just to say, yes, I will, or no, I can't do that. So it's very important in business. It's very important. I always say, under promise and over deliver. If you're going in business and you're providing a service, what you want is people to refer you to say, you know, Tiffany Carter, um, when she says she's going to do something, you can count on her. You know, I don't know what kind of business you're going to have, Tiffany, but I see it all over you. You got success written all over you. And that's the one thing that will make or break you is your reputation. Your reputation. And so, having been a banker for many years, I would make $1 million commitments to people, and they know it was done. The only thing left to do was the paperwork. But when I said, "Yeah, this is approved," then they knew it was approved. It wasn't no going back later, because my word was my bond, and you know, so um, when you say you're going to do something, do it. It's just that simple. And when you say you're going to do it. So think about what you say you're going to do. And before you say it, remember, think about it. Well, sometimes if you feel pressured, say, well, let me get back to you on that. I want to think on it so I can make a firm commitment. And when you make a firm commitment, that means it's firm. Stick to it. Even if it costs you, once you give your word, you got to protect your word, even if you lose money, because money will come and go, but the only thing that will maintain you over the long haul is your reputation.
That was a great concept of to under promise and over deliver,
Mhm.
and contrast that with um, over promising and under delivering.
Oh, well, I'm going to have this new designer dress done for you on, this day, and it's on 3 weeks from now. And, oh, it's going to be beautiful. And then 6 weeks from now, I get a little bikini, so that's over promising and under delivering. And the first thing they're going to say is, boy, that Tiffany. She said I was going to get this dress and she delivered a bikini. Don't ever call her. And trust me, bad news travels 10 times faster than good news. So people are 10 times more likely to tell somebody about a bad experience than they are about a good experience.
I hope some of you guys are catching this because he's giving you some pearls of wisdom. He's giving you some golden nuggets that it at times it can take years to pick up on that. And that's a very important concept there is living up to your word and then not promising to do something and then breaking your promise. Anybody ever made a promise to you guys and broken their promise? And how does it make you feel, right? So just yeah, sorry, Marcus. I just wanted to interject that because you
No,
raised some great
no, it
points.
sucks. Yeah, yeah. So do unto others as you'd have them do unto you.
You mentioned traps, that there's traps out there. Talk about some of the traps, or some of the maybe we had traps, but there's traps out there today that are designed to trip up some of our youth.
Well, I just couldn't even imagine if everything I did was on a phone back in the day, you know. I mean, I'm just glad that you had to be in the room to see it. So now with the everything, it's a two-edged sword. You have this instant communications. Look at this. Look at how beautiful this is. We're all in different parts of the city. This is like, I don't know, you guys are probably too young, but there's this cartoon when we were coming up as kids called Jetsons. And the Jetsons, they were like talking about talking on the phone and seeing somebody. And, as a kid, I was like, how are you ever going to do that? Well, here we are. So you have communication, instant communication. Um, the downside of that is two things as a trap, as I see it. One is that, number one, it's a time waster. You can waste a lot of time just doing nothing. But it's like any other tool. It's just how you apply it. The other side of it is you got all kind of information at your fingertip. You could be a entrepreneur and selling anything to anybody in the world. It's a great opportunity, but again, it's just mindset. So, excuse me, to avoid the traps of wasting time, and to avoid the trap of, getting caught up in different things with people online and letting your identity be tied to that. Excuse me. That's the biggest trap, to let your identity be defined by something on social media and other people. That's the big, because it's too easy. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You have promise in you. And just because they don't see it now, you just keep going. It'll become apparent over time. So whatever stumbling blocks you think are holding you back or disadvantages, and being Black in America is hard enough. And then being female is even harder. But then even being a male is harder, because we got to deal with um, not being able to meet all of the ideals of our females, our women. So it's hard for Black people in America. It's hard for Black people around the world with being Black, but it's also good. If we make them, it just depends on how you look at it. And I'll tell you a joke. So they did this test on trying to see what motivated an optimist and a pessimist. An optimist is somebody that thinks something's good. A pessimist is all they can see is the bad. So they had these twins, and one was an optimist and one was a pessimist. And so they took the pessimist kid and they put toys, every toy you can imagine. And then they took the optimist kid and they put him in a room full of manure. An hour later, they came back to the pessimist kid with all the toys, and he was just sitting in the middle of the floor. They said, "Hey, kid, why aren't you playing with the toys?" "Oh, I won't have any fun." "Well, try it." "Oh, no, they'll just break." And he never would play with the toys. They went to the room where the optimist kid was, and they didn't see him. They said, "Hey, kid, where are you?" He popped up out of all the manure, and it was in his hair and in his hands and everything. They were like, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, with all this manure in here, there's got to be a pony somewhere, and I'm going to find him." So it's just a matter of attitude. What are you looking for? If you're going to look for the good in every situation, then that's a mindset. And that's the number one trap you have to avoid, is getting a negative mindset. That means your mind is set negatively. And we generally get what we think about. It says, as a man or woman thinketh, so is he or she. So,
Marcus, they're leaving.
okay.
They're the broadcast was continue, but the students are leaving, so they're saying goodbye to you in the chat, and
Oh,
thanks for the information. And
yeah, I'm an old guy. I had to take off my glasses to read, so I couldn't see the
yeah,
chat.
they're
I'll
all
read the
saying
chats later.
goodbyes.
But God bless you all, and I wish you much prosperity and success and joy in the pursuit of it all.
Amen. Amen. Thank you guys for joining us, and hopefully you get a lot of good wisdom out of the class, and hopefully you got some good wisdom out of today. So thank you for joining us. Bye bye. You can stick around and Crystal let you. Steven, what'd you think of that?
Marcus, you did not disappoint me. Your delivery, your insight, how we can change the dialogue and the future of our children, particularly our Black male youth, because they're a endangered species. They're being targeted in many ways, more ways than one. And I applaud you in that regard. But one question I have for you, twofold, really. What can we do in the Black business community to support you and your mission at MENFORMATION? And secondarily, what programs and events you have upcoming?
Okay. Programs and events. I'm linking to the in the chat to our events page. We have well, here's a couple of things we can help. One is pray for us, and two is If you have time to volunteer, we meet once a month from 10 to 1. And we're meeting on the 24th we meet now at the McCarty Memorial Community Center. They've made their place available to us because we're no longer at Challenges. But, and then secondly, you can make a donation. We do an annual fishing trip, which we'll be doing in July. We take them ocean fishing, and then you'll see on our website where we take a picture of all the kids and they get their first fish, and it's a life memory, And then I also take pictures of the ones that get seasick. I don't post that, but I let them see, the ones that get seasick. And we do a annual bowling clinic. And so we do outings, we do different things to get out with them and spend time with them. And so, we have the fishing trip is going to cost us $1,000 with our fishing partner this year. So, and we're 100% volunteer. We have been for 15 years. And, God always sends people with the resources we need. And hopefully you guys the network here will respond. You can go to menformation.org. Make a simple donation. If you'd like to volunteer, feel free to reach out, give us a call. We'd love to have people come and volunteer. And then if you're open to speak to the boys, particularly in financial aspects, because that's one of the things we strive for is to help them with financial literacy.
Thank you.
In the time we have left, and since Crystal will still have the recording of this, I'd like for those who are willing to maybe share a few words of wisdom or a parable, something that Crystal can extract from this recording to share with her students. I'll lead off with the one that my dad shared with me. That said that nobody can take away your integrity.
Mm.
You give it up on your own.
Mm.
Anybody else want to share
I have something.
All right, go ahead, Ted. Ted, and then Renee, if you're talking, you're muted. But Ted, go ahead.
I have a term that I use, which is called a resource bank. I use it in social services. Your resource bank is the overall pool of knowledge that you use to deal with life situations. I raised the question, what's in there? What's in your resource bank? Because it has everything to do with how you deal with situations. You can always add, pull things out of your resource bank. So what's in your resource bank?
That's excellent.
I wanted to ask again, how old are the children that you work with or the young men that you work with?
The young men are between 8 and 17.
Okay. One of the things that I like to tell everybody that's young is that they are worthy. Period. You are worthy.
Thank you.
I have.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Joseph. Joseph R.
We were reflecting on things our fathers taught us, and Greg led me in that direction, this being Father's Day weekend. One of the things that my father used to always talk about was the 5-year rule. 5 years seems like a lot when you're 8. It seems an incredible amount when you're 17. But the 5-year rule is when you're confronted with a situation and you're thinking about how you want to react to it, determine how important that's going to be in 5 years. Are you even going to remember that someone stepped on your shoe? Are you even going to remember that someone called you a name? Are you even going to know that person that seems so critical at that moment? What's that going to mean for you in 5 years? It's easy to do that when you're in your 60s like I am. I have a lot of perspective. It's a lot harder to do when they're young. And that's one of the reasons why we have some of the problems that we do, because it's an instant reaction to something that won't even be important a week from now, let alone 5 years from now.
Excellent. Good advice. Anybody else have one to share? I think, Stephen, you had one.
I have nephews that they've gone through the changes of when I from being infants to young men. And one thing that I share with them is character. Character is what you do when you're alone, when no one is looking, and to have that instilled in them, not to be showed off when others are looking. Your way you act. So you know your action.
When no one is looking. That's good.
Right?
I have a quick one.
Okay, sure, absolutely.
And hello, everybody. It's good to see you. Um, this would be what comes simple and natural and easy to you is extraordinarily valuable and powerful to someone else. And that's just a reminder, some of our gifts and abilities we overlook, we don't think it means anything, but to somebody else, it's extraordinarily valuable.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
powerful. Thank you. Jessica, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
This is something that I'm actually learning right now. As a young person, all advice isn't good advice. Um, so, if it's not necessarily coming from a place of I'm trying to connect with you or I really see your best interest, then sometimes you have to kind of take the meat and spit out the bones. And so I'm actually in that season right now. So yeah, I wanted to share that.
Share
And
some
also, I
good
want to
advice.
share that next week, Jessica will be our special guest. So, what is the grade to the young shall lead? I think I skipped that chapter of Bible school. But yeah, Jessica, we look forward to your insightful commentary next Thursday at
Absolutely.
11 o'clock.
Looking forward to it as well.
I was going to ask what's some good advice that you've received.
Some good advice.
Uh-huh.
Some good advice would be I've received a lot of good advice. I don't know where to start with that.
How about some bad advice that you got?
Some bad advice was to stop charging for my services. Some good advice would be to just first believe in myself and sell myself. Sell, my personality, my passion, and to really connect with people through that.
Awesome. Anyone else who hasn't shared that would like to?
Hi, my name is Keith Tilk, and I do know Marcus. How are you? Um, can you guys hear me okay?
What's up, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
we hear you.
And I'm in the employment arena. And one of the things I've learned, and I've always tried to convey to people, is just obviously I work now, I have my own employment agency, but I recently started, in addition to that, being a recruiter for Disneyland. So I help staff the hotels and the theme parks at Disneyland. And just the self-esteem and the pride it gives people to have employment. And I think that's one of the things that we can instill some of our young people with skills, job skills. Obviously, we encourage them to be entrepreneurs if that's what they like to be. That's what I do, and I think it's good to encourage that. But just having a job, and I can't tell you how many examples I have of just interviewing people. And recently, I just interviewed a lady for a job at Disneyland, and we were on a Zoom call, these are Zoom meetings when we do our interviews. And we just completed, I'd offered her a position, and I hadn't quite exited the Zoom meeting. She hadn't quite exited either. And I heard her turn around and scream to somebody, I got the job. And just the fact that if we could just encourage people to find those skills and those employment opportunities, I think it makes a difference. And when people are young and they start working on what skills can I have, because there are certain positions we just can't fill. I mean, because we don't have enough qualified candidates. So just encouraging young people, and I love the fact that you're mentoring these young people and helping them build a good future. Thank you.
Let's see, who else do we hear? Bianca, did you have one to share? Tia and Roz. I don't think we heard from you guys. Anything to share in terms of words of?
I missed the question. I just heard the answers.
Okay. So we had our students here today, and Crystal will take this recording and share. So we were offering any words of encouragement or advice for her students, and she will extract them.
Yeah, I would say, surround yourself with positive people, because that's what keeps going. Sometimes the people that loves us the most and closest to us don't understand our dreams. So they're trying to protect us. They feel like we're like jumping off a cliff and they're trying to hold you back. But sometimes that's the passion that's burning inside of us. And we want to make sure that we surround ourselves by other people that can identify with our dreams, and that way we could continue and follow our dreams and not be held back.
That's excellent.
I would just say ditto that what everything everybody have said. I think you guys have said it all.
That's the best advice we've heard today, Roz. Tia doesn't have audio, so she put hers in the chat. She says, we all have a superpower. We just may need to take some time to identify it and then explore positive and impactful ways to use it. So I think that was pretty cool. We have a few more minutes. If somebody has a second and third one that they'd like to share, we have a few more moments. And anybody else have another?
I do have something to share that I took from the presentation.
Sure.
When you said that they judge the amount of jail cells that they're going to create based on their third grade reading level, that was a huge impactful, and it also made me think just how the system has set up us as young folks. So that was some powerful information, and I definitely appreciate you sharing that.
Well, thank you, Jessica. It is impactful. The sad thing about it is, that saddens me is the state of education, how we were in those segregated one-room schoolhouses and learning more than in every schoolhouse we can now. And part of it is, again, the caring teachers, and so that's a big part of education, is who's educating our children and how are they educating our children. And we went from having all of these Black teachers to none. And the thing about it is, when we think about it, reading must be, my grandfather said, reading must be something to it, because they used to kill white people for teaching us to read. I mean, they would kill their own to teach. So there must be something to reading. And he always said, no whipping like a pencil whipping. So, when they count you up short and you sharecropping. And so I'm not talking about something that's far removed from me. My mom chopped cotton, and we sit down and have breakfast and talk, and she recounts all of that. So the problem is now is that, we are not educating our children. We must do
so
it.
different states use some states use fourth grade reading scores, some use third. They use the decline in reading scores to predict within a 7 to 12 year time frame where they're going to need incarceration facilities. So where they're seeing declines, then they'll build that. The prison system is big business, and many states have privatized their penal facilities, and the money behind it requires a certain level of occupancy. So I think at one point in time, those here in California needed a 94% occupancy rate in order for the money to make sense. So that if crime went down and occupancy fell into the 80s, then they needed to fill that. And so now they had to either create laws or to increase enforcement of penalties or penal offenses in order to staff the jails, or delay the release of prisoners in order to keep them there to meet those requirements. I got Stephen and then Bianca.
Well, again, we talk about education. I'm going to go back to Jessica as kind of tee it up for next week. Jessica, please tell us a little bit about what you're doing as a young person or as education, making education matter.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I think is very important is that we have the practical financial education. And so what I do currently is teach young adults how to properly and practically budget to start building wealth towards their future. So getting them to think about, okay, what am I doing with my finances? What's going in, what's coming out? And going through that process with them and really sitting through that process and teaching them terminology that they may have never heard before. And so I guide them through that process and just mentor them through that. And so what I'll be talking about is just what the brand is about, what created the brand, which I studied a lot of Black Wall Street. And I was really interested in how, you know, they were able to sustain themselves when the law said Blacks and whites couldn't do business together. So I built my brand using that concept, but trying to build progress for now and the future towards the digital age, since we have the digital age now. And so the goal is to build Black Wall Street of the digital age and rally our young adults and youth to be excited about that. Because when I'm here, I hear a lot of us talking about the youth. We need to get the youth on board. And I think if they learn what we did in the past, the progress we made, even when the law, you know, prohibited us from moving forward, but we still made it happen, then what we can do now is way more impactful and it can reach farther because we do have the digital age. So yeah, I'll definitely be talking about that.
Thank you.
And I had a question that says, what groups are you dealing with? So my main group is 18 through 35, young adults from 18 through 35.
Bianca?
Okay, hi. I just, Marcus, I think the information you provided is really good, you know, but I also, as parents and mentors, we have more power with our school, our kids' education than we think. You know, I'm always wanting to meet with my kids' counselors, always. You know, I want to meet with the teachers. Can you make it happen? You know, I try to stay involved. When my son, you know, because I think the education system for Black boys, you know, they learn different ways. Some boys, any culture boys learn different ways. My son was a freshman in high school. In the third month, his grades went from A's to D's. So I went to meet with every teacher to find out what's going on. The counselor pretty much told me in front of my son and the teachers that he's not college material. He was a freshman in that school. He was only there 3 months. They had 4 years to change him around, to help him. But instead, they had already labeled him. Yes. So I said, you know what? My son is not staying in this school. People were like, but you're out. My son was like, but I don't want to leave my friends. I said, they gave up on you. I will not. Tomorrow, you're going to this other school. I got my son. The second school was a Catholic school. He didn't like going to church. He didn't like the uniforms and the strict. I was like, fine. He found a third school he liked. So by the time he got to third grade, he was at his third school. The boy loved the school. He won awards. He won all kinds of accolations. I had to drive him on the freeway 30 minutes a day. I did not care because that was his future. I did not leave it to that school who wrote off my Black son. Okay, so come back to when he's graduating, he applied for 4 universities and got accepted in all 4. I did not give up on him. He is now in the second year attending Laverne University in Laverne. And I'm still fighting for him. You know, we only live 20 minutes away. I made him stay in the dorm. Yes, it costs more money, but he would be more involved and get more friends. And now, you know, and now he's dating a nice lady that he met at the school. And now she's really into education. Now his grades went sky up. I'm still on him until he graduates and shows me that degree. I'm not letting no school tell me that my son is not college material. And we should not allow people to dictate our children's future. You stay involved, you stay in their face, you know, and his new school, every holiday, I brought pizza, I brought donuts, every single teacher knew who I was. So if he needed an extra help, I could just text him. You know, we have to be involved. Maybe not all of us can move our kids, but we have to let the administration know what is going on. Why did you write off my son after 3 months of high school? Why? You know, we have to stay involved. We can't just let people dictate our kids' future and well, they said this. I don't care what you say. I know who I have at home, you know, and as a mother, even if he's not college material, he will be college material because I will make sure of it, you know, and that's the kind of passion that we have to take. We can't let the schools, the administrators, and blame all these people. Yeah, it's not for us, but we have to make it for us. And as moms, dads, and mentors, aunts, and uncles, we're the only ones that can fight. A 15-year-old cannot fight for himself. We have to do it. So what you said today is great. But at 3rd grade, writing off a kid, or at 9th grade, writing off a kid, no, that's not acceptable. And we need to let them know it's not acceptable. We're not going to allow it, you know. And I told the principal when I left the school, I told the vice principal why I was taking my son out and why they were a failure. And that's why I was taking my son out. So the next Black kid, the next Black boy, maybe they would take consideration, put him in an extra special class or give him more time. We need to fight for our children and not just let people tell us. You know,
Amen.
That's all.
Put a little more passion.
What's your son's name?
Bianca?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. What's your son's name, Bianca?
His name is Javo Becky.
Javo.
Javo Becky. VOBEY. And I'm still fighting with him.
Yeah,
I'm with him.
If I could, you know, formulate you and make you like a vaccine and plug you into all the different moms that I come across, you know, for her, we would be a whole different environment. But, you know, as we all know, that parenting is the key. I mean, and where some parents fall short, I mean, as we know, in our age group, we've come through where so many parents, they gotten younger, you know, they were young and teen parents, remember, and like that would, and so they're raising and they don't have the same big mama sense, you know. And so that's why we all, where we can kick in, we can kick in, you know. And so from our point of view, we do what we can. Is it to solve everything? Well, no, but we do our part, because, you know, even a drop in the ocean makes a ripple, you know.
Ted, we're a little over, but you got something quick?
Yes, I just want to say for the planning thing, which I would love to see instill in our younger generation is, when you're planning, you always should consider the past, the present, and the future before you move.
Yeah,
it's critical that you past, present, and future. And in terms of prison, there's a Angola prison in Louisiana is a plantation that never closed since slavery. It is an 18,000 acre farmland that is tended to by the workers. It never closed since slavery.
Also, I have a quick comment. I know Stephen had asked about the story of my daughter that's at Harvard. Thank you, Stephen. So I had a son that had to push, you know, and my daughter was accepted in 18 of the top universities in America. She is now going to start her 3rd year at Harvard University in the fall. You know, that also, I started that planning to get her to the Ivy League schools. That started before she got to middle school. So it wasn't just accidental, it was planned. I met with college counselors at USC and UCLA and asked, what kind of students are you looking for? I wrote it down when she was 10 years old, and there was a map that I made out, you know, so you know, no matter what level your child is in, there's also a map that as a parent, we could start by. If you wait till they're in high school, it's too late. You know, you got to start 8, 9, 10 years old and get that map going. That's how you get your kids into the right school, into the right environment, and get as much money to help you pay for college.
Amen. Amen. And Marcus, I couldn't resist this, man. I'm sorry here.
What's that?
I don't know if you heard that.
I
It's
didn't
the
hear.
it was Marcus from Boomerang.
Oh, Marcus.
Marcus, Lady Eloise. Anytime I hear that name, I don't know why that always comes back. Marcus.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I get that a lot of times.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. This was a great session today. Please come back and join us next week. On behalf of Crystal, Robin Billups, Stephen Turner, and myself, Gregory Sneed, thank you for joining the community briefing, and we'll check you out next week. And Marcus, thank you again for joining us. You're fantastic, and we enjoyed your presentation, sir.
My pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Blessings to you. Blessings to everybody. And happy fathers to all the fathers.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah. Take care.